This is a Defocus Media production.
Audio Jungle.
What's up, everyone? It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Daryl Glover.
And I'm Dr. Jennifer Lyerly, resident optometry nerd.
And welcome to Defocus Media, optometry's #1 podcast, where we discuss the hottest topics, latest technology, eyewear, practice management, and more. So sit back, relax, and defocus.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of the Defocus Media podcast. I'm Dr. Jennifer Lyerly, and if you guys have been longtime listeners, I know you know how passionate I am about myopia, and my goal has always been to help you find that passion too. And I don't think there's any bigger calling for optometrists right now to participate in, because it's something that we can really change the lives of our patients with by embracing. And I'm here to discuss with you guys the new Myopia Collective, this mission between CooperVision and the American Optometric Association, to make sure that all of us are embracing this big calling to change children's lives. All right, without further ado, let's get down to our esteemed guest visitors. Dr. Jacquie Bowen, would you kick us off sharing a little bit about yourself and why myopia is such a big passion behind what you do?
Thanks, Jen. I'm Jacquie Bowen. I'm president-elect of the American Optometric Association, and I live and practice in Greeley, Colorado, which is in northern Colorado. Myopia is something that has been a part of our vernacular and our understanding for such a long time. And I think sometimes we make the mistake of assuming that everybody understands what it is and why it's important to take a look at it. But I think we can do a better job of reaching our communities, our patients, our colleagues, about how we truly can change the lives, not just as children are children, but in adulthood when we see the consequences of elevating myopia. So I'm really excited for AOA to be partnering with CooperVision in the Myopia Collective, and look forward to chatting with you about it today.
We also have on the show Dr. Justin Kwan, who is the face of Myopia Management for CooperVision. Dr. Kwan, can you share a little bit about yourself?
Thanks, Jen, for having us on. So I'm a Berkeley grad from 15 years ago and currently living in Chicago. I joined CooperVision about 4 years ago to lead myopia, along with 3 other full-time ODs who I adore and appreciate so much. And really, just to echo Dr. Bowen, appreciate this partnership with the Myopia Collective, with the AOA and CooperVision. As we know, this is indeed primary eye care, and we really owe it to the children to help them in every way that we can.
And our last guest, Dr. Sabrina Gaan, she is a Myopia Collective Change Agent, which is this inaugural program to help get the boots on the ground, doctors talking to other doctors, sharing their passion and why they're so involved in this mission. Dr. Gaan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks for having me. I'm also 15 years out of school from ICO. So I was in Chicago. Now I'm in Plainville, Massachusetts. I have a practice called Eyes on Plainville. And I've been doing myopia management with Ortho-K since I graduated. So it's a really, really important thing for me. And I feel like not enough doctors know about it. So I'm excited to be here.
Dr. Gaan, we're going to get into this later, but as a fellow optometrist that was doing myopia management kind of before we had FDA-approved myopia management techniques, Isn't it such a luxury to be able to talk about FDA approval now?
Yes, you don't have to dance around your words anymore. You can just say this works,
We've got all the studies to back it up. I think that's obviously was a big game changer in this mission, and there's no reason to wait now, guys. We've got everything that we need to make this a streamlined conversation. So Dr. Bowen, would you mind sharing a little bit about why the AOA really wanted to partner with CooperVision to make the Myopia Collective happen?
Sure. Well, AOA and CooperVision have been partners for a long time and have come together in improving access of optometrists to have better solutions for eye health and vision care. So this is a partnership that's been decades long. So it's natural for us to come together and focus on the crisis that exists surrounding our youngest patients, that being the myopia epidemic. You kind of have to have been living under a rock to not have some awareness of the myopia epidemic. It's been a topic of conversation for a long time. particularly coming out of the pandemic, because everybody of all ages, but especially children, turn more to screens, not just for entertainment, but for academia. And, when school went online, and a lot of students have stayed online. So from what we know about the eye and the visual system, we know that this crisis is not likely to go away. About 3 years ago, there was an emergency children's vision summit, and that led to AOA organizing a series for optometrists who kind of want to get a little bit more information and jump into it or just dip their toes into it. And as CooperVision and AOA really drilled down on what will move the needle, how to really make something happen, the Myopia Collective was born. So the purpose of the Myopia Collective is to really rally the profession and its allies outside optometry to interrupt the status quo and pay attention to a new standard of care for children with myopia. It's no longer just okay for our profession to correct refractive error when it comes to myopia. We got to do more and step into this role as change makers, truly, for the next generation. So getting involved really means joining a team that's part of the solution, addressing eye health and vision needs of children as they grow into adulthood.
I think this is something parents want. When I'm in patient care, invariably, mom or dad, kind of sitting on the side as their child's having their exam, is asking me about, they're concerned about screen time. They're concerned about worsening prescriptions. But sometimes I think doctors feel like they're not versed enough in the science to really share what children need to be doing. It's so much more than just screen time. We know it's increasing outdoor time. We know there's a genetic component. We know that it has a lot to do with how their eyes are growing and the growth spurts they might be having. And then to start thinking about talking about, okay, we can slow this down with peripheral defocus. That sounds like a conversation that might be daunting to have. So I think getting people educated about how having these conversations in a natural way, the science to support it, have the confidence to talk about it. That's really the key. And that's why I think this mission is so great, because that's the goal, is making sure everyone feels really confident with the science and the discussion points to talk to their patients about it. Why do you think some people are holding back, besides maybe some of this uncertainty about the language of talking about myopia control? But why aren't all doctors talking about myopia management with every patient every single time?
Hey, I'll jump in here. Just, you guys both mentioned you've been out of school for 15 years. I can more than double that. And we were doing orthokeratology back in the dark ages, and then it really went away. It was mostly a refractive correction for people for convenience, to sleep in their lenses at night and not have to wear contacts during the day. There was little to no understanding about that slowing down the progress of myopia. There was no such thing as peripheral defocus lenses. And so, the idea of correcting myopia for many, many years for a lot of optometrists out there was just correcting the refractive error. And to be honest, a lot of sets of myopic parents, kind of chuckle about it. Yeah, we grew up, nearsighted. We knew our kid would be that way. And it's really not a concern. They don't really understand, and we didn't really understand. Why is this a problem? It's cool. Our whole family's nearsighted, sort of thing. So it's really not just the emergence of technology, but a paradigm shift in educating patients and educating doctors about, we're in a better time. We have more solutions. We need to change the way we're taking a look at this. So just even just moving out of that mindset is kind of a heavy lift.
Dr. Gaan, as a practicing optometrist, my guess is you're one of the few optometrists in your area providing myopia management. I know it's not something that the average optometrist, even where I practice in Raleigh, is doing. So what do you feel like is holding some of the doctors in your community back?
Well, it's getting a little better, I must say. But I was having people driving an hour away just to see me for myopia management. And that's disturbing because there's so many optometrists out there. It's like, it's really hard for me to grasp that that these doctors don't want to start doing this. Like, it's a disservice to, your patients. And for me, it was like, okay, why is my boss, why are certain people not doing this? And it's like, oh, I don't have time. Oh, I don't know how to have that conversation. Oh, I just undercorrect people, or I give them like a small bifocal or progressive. And I'm like, I'm like, this is not how you manage myopia. It's not working. Like, they have studies showing it doesn't work, but it's so easy nowadays that it's like foolproof, and you don't need to be this, crazy expert to prescribe Ortho-K anymore. You don't, and with MiSight lenses, it makes it so easy to manage, and there's really no excuse anymore.
I love that call out where even if you're deciding, hey, time-wise, I don't have time to sufficiently educate myself or bring this into the practice right now, you at least have the time to have the conversation about, I want to send you to a doctor who can do this. So I'm glad you were getting the referrals even from an hour away.
Well, they weren't referrals from doctors. It was patients searching me out. Yeah, it was one of those things where they were looking it up. So, even though you don't think the patients are smart enough to, research, they will research and find a doctor, and they will leave your practice, because they're looking for another option. And, their friends are telling them, oh, my doctor does this. And so they're all coming from other sources. But ultimately, like, take like the studies, you don't have to say like, oh, the research shows like this percentage and this. All you have to say is, there's a solution for this. And, for me, I can honestly say that all of my patients have seen a reduction in the myopia progression. So, I know that's not the research, but ultimately in my practice, I have a small little practice, and I can tell you for a fact they were going, a diopter each year, and they went to stable. Yeah. Or if anything, if they were really young and, they were bound to change a little bit, they might have a half a diopter in like years time. So it's amazing the effects that it has. So
Dr. Kwan, I know y'all have done a lot of research at CooperVision about how to have the most effective, time-efficient conversation with your patient about why myopia management should be the strategy they pursue. Do you have any advice you can share on the show with how easy this conversation can be?
Yeah. I agree with Dr. Gaan that it doesn't have to be a long conversation. In fact, a colleague of ours said, I think it takes longer to explain cataracts than it does myopia management. And if you just use like a simple visual aid of a long eye versus a shorter eye, and you just make an emotional connection, it's not about the data. It's about, like Dr. Gaan said, doing the right thing and making that emotional connection that this will help your child and this is our job and we want to put your child on the best path forward. They are looking for that solution because I can't think of any other medical condition that we just let get worse and let get worse before we actually do something about it. So, in a nutshell, like, I really think that, doctors think, oh, this is so new and the parents have never heard about it before. But the truth is, a lot of things we explain to patients, they're hearing about for the first time. So myopia isn't all that different when we're now just changing it a little bit to treating it from getting worse so quickly. So I always like to describe it as the eye is growing too long, too fast, and getting weaker. And my job is to protect your child's vision from getting worse as they grow. We can talk about defocus later.
Hey, we can provide the science for anybody who wants to have the more in-depth conversation, right? And that's what I love. For example, just pulling up a picture of the MiSight lens design. Oh, that's really all they need to see. Hey, this isn't a regular contact lens. Do you see those rings? That's creating defocus on the back of the eye. It can still be a relatively short conversation, but it's so simple and straightforward that I found it's gotten way easier for me to talk to my patients about myopia management if I talk less. And all I say is, when I was a kid, my vision, they just let my eyes get worse every year. I kept getting stronger glasses, and the parents usually are about my age, and they're like, yeah, that is what happened. Like, we don't do that anymore. Now we can make it so that their eyes change by as little as possible. We'll keep their prescription as low as possible.
Well, you just discuss braces, and it's a no-brainer when people think of braces, right? They should think the same way about myopia management. So when you tell the patient, it's just like braces for the eyes. It's like, a retainer. They're like, oh, they like get it. And it's so easy to discuss.
But it's not as expensive as braces.
I'm like, it's only.
So, we're talking about how these conversations that we have with our parents about this get easier and easier the more we're doing it and the more confident we feel in our knowledge about it. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why practices should sign up to be members of the Myopia Collective, to get that resource available to you, to get that practice under your belt about having those conversations. But Dr. Kwan, what are some of the benefits of being a Myopia Collective member?
Yeah, I think sometime later this month or next, we will be sending out a back to school toolkit and some communications to access resources for every single member of the Myopia Collective. And then that way you can kind of stay in touch with like simple things that are happening and how you can kind of tap into the greater work of educating the public, or even just, helping out your team at the practice, whether it be other doctors or staff. And we really just look at this as a family, right? So we have, other OD colleagues that we can network with, and to be able to help you out in a simple way to take that next like baby step towards making this, primary eye care in your practice. So yes, we will definitely communicate with members of the Myopia Collective at minimum once every 3 months. And so that way you can kind of take advantage of all that the AOA and CooperVision has to offer. Really just, again, piggybacking and leveraging the expertise of folks like Jen and Sabrina and others that are already doing a great job with this.
And Dr. Bowen, how do they sign up? How do they get access to this?
It's pretty darn easy. You go to the website, which is myopiacollective.org. And don't be surprised, that'll redirect you to an AOA website where there'll be a link to click to fill out a form. And so just fill out the form with your demographics and practice information, and then you will await a response and confirmation. And then once you're approved, you'll start receiving the benefits of the collective. So many people have done it.
I was so amazed. I love the booth that was set up at Optometry's meeting back in June, and people were signing up live on the floor and then saw their little name and their state pop up behind them. And you guys signed up so many doctors at Optometry's meeting. I know it was extremely successful. I mean, the goal is 100%, like all of us, there's no reason not to sign up to commit to this mission and to receive free resources about it, right?
Yeah. I think myopia is such a big problem that my Christmas wish list would be 30,000 of our 42,000 colleagues would sign up to be members. But more than that, of course, to practice and treat the kids from getting worse.
My gosh. If you haven't signed up yet, this is your sign. If you're driving, wait till your car is stopped. But sign up to be a member of the Myopia Collective. Let's overshoot Dr. Kwan's Christmas wish list and get him to 100%, because we all believe that helping kids is the right thing to do. We care about people. That's why we're optometrists.
Yeah.
So another part of this Myopia Collective initiative is the Myopia Collective Change Agent program. And there's over 60 members with all 50 states and Washington, D.C. represented. So what is the mission of the Myopia Collective Change Agent program?
Yeah, so change agents are members by default, but these change agents in each of the states, so Jen for North Carolina, Sabrina for Massachusetts, and all the other change agents are really kind of leaders already in their respective states. They will share ideas with other change agents on what's working in their practice, or how have they, engaged a legislator to educate on children's vision and things like that. But one of the key things we'll do with the change agents is gather them in person all together in September in Chicago, just so we can create space for these roundtable discussions to happen, but really leaning on the change agents to kind of lead and innovate and offer up ideas we've never heard of before. No idea is too crazy. And we want to, just foster that, to collaborate and support one another. How do you grow from 1 patient a month to 5 patients a month, right? And getting these outcomes that we hope for. And some of these change agents have a vast experience at the legislative level or influencing policy in their state. So what works in North Carolina, they could maybe borrow some ideas to work in Massachusetts, or vice versa. So really excited about the contributions that every change agent has, because they're so uniquely different. And, even taking a step further, maybe some want to contribute to the scientific literature and the database of simple observational studies in their practice and learning, how kids are benefiting from this and what that might mean in the greater holistic care of children. So I guess the sky's the limit. There's no cap to how the change agents can participate together, learn from each other, and how we can eventually disseminate all of that to the members of the collective too.
Yeah. Dr. Gaan, when you were selected for a Myopia Collective change agent position, what were some of the feelings that you had?
I was like, oh my goodness, yay. No, it was a great honor, obviously, because, you feel like you want to try to help always, right, Jen? Like, we're always trying to help the community. We're always trying to, improve optometry, but, to actively participate in those roles is just such a nice feeling. And, I do feel very strongly about myopia management. And so I'm excited to help. And I am always willing to help. Like, doctors are always scared to ask me questions. I'm like, please ask me, like, I'll tell you anything I can give you, because I want us all as a profession to improve and to be better. So, like, why would we hold back on any of our knowledge, right? So I'm excited to help others and to kind of get them going, because I feel like some doctors are just nervous.
Yeah. It's something I'm sure you've been doing in your community already. Yesterday I was getting a text message about who I use for atropine compounding. So we're already helping our friends and local colleagues to make it a broader kind of thing, where I was like, yeah, I'm happy. Like, y'all shoot me a text, y'all shoot me a message on Instagram, send me an email. I am happy to share everything I know. And I know you're going to be able to share something with me that's going to help me too.
We don't know everything.
We all do, right?
It's like we should be helping each other always.
Right. So if someone's listening to this and they're like, oh my gosh, that sounds like something that I want to be involved in, what's the process like of becoming a Myopia Collective change agent in the future?
Yeah, so we haven't fully decided what might happen next year, but just stay connected. As we've said a couple of times, be a member first and foremost. And when change agent applications open up again in the future, members will be the first to know. But in the meantime, stay active, stay engaged, like participate again instead of staying on the sidelines, and get to know the ODs in your community, in your state. Rely and lean on your CooperVision reps and myopia management specialists. Just stay close to the conversation. And when the opportunity arises for the next change agent class, you'll hopefully be the first to know.
There we go. Well, this is a new initiative. And so this is one of those things where who knows what direction we might go in and what impact we might be able to have, but it's up to all of us, whether you're a change agent or a regular member, to be driving and propelling that forward. So I think it's so great to hear that there's so much room for innovation and ideas with this program, but it all starts with getting as many people as possible signed up, so that way we can move together as a force for improving childhood outcomes, reducing that risk of our patients. Nothing's more painful than to see a patient in your chair that has had a retinal detachment and they were a -12, or had myopic maculopathy, unfortunately, which is really devastating to their vision. And so can we prevent that now while they're young? Yes, absolutely. But we have a very narrow window to do so. So it's important to act now and not wait. And so getting everybody on board with that mission is something that I think all of us agree is an important thing for our patients' health and outcome. If there's one takeaway, I'm going to let everyone have a speak on this. As we're kind of closing this show up, what would you say to doctors to get the passion behind them, to get fired up about this new initiative? Dr. Bowen, I'll let you start.
Okay. I'm going to take the liberty of elaborating a little bit on the change agent program. The AOA and CooperVision are gathering the change agents in person in September to this is not just I signed up for this and I might get an email every now and then. This is preparing toolkits. Not only, I love what Sabrina said about, although I would love it more if she had said all my referrals are coming from fellow optometrists. Some patients are just seeking this out. So how do you do that? In the whirlwind of your life, it's very difficult to set up a marketing program all by yourself. So, let's not fly by the seat of our pants. We'll learn from others in terms of building educational materials, not just internally, but externally from our practices, working with other professions outside optometry who are taking a look at this quite seriously too, in ophthalmology, in education, in special education, all those things. There's a lot of people who have access to information that we need to collaborate on. Policy advocacy, I really want to stress on, super important, because we want to make sure that these efforts are supported by policymakers and legislators. And the AOA has contacts in every congressional district in the country. That's really a strength of the organization that can help to not only advance this, but also protect it and make sure that optometrists, who really are the best resources, we're the best educated to do myopia control. And we need to be compensated for that too, and while not creating a financial barrier to our patients. So all those sorts of things are projects needing to be done, that are planned to be done, working specifically with our change agents. So again, AOA, very thankful for the partnership with CooperVision and the opportunity to really make something happen. There's a lot of information out there. Let's pull it together. Let's pull the passionate people together and spread that enthusiasm so that we can make a bigger impact.
Dr. Bowen, I'd like to call out what you said so important about advocacy. There was a recent study you guys might have seen where it was written in ophthalmology. They were talking about the shortage of pediatric eye care availability, ophthalmology and optometry included. And of course, in ophthalmology, if you're not a pediatric ophthalmologist, you don't do kids. Right. And their thinking was for optometry, if you're not a pediatric optometrist, you don't see kids, which is not the case. All optometrists are pediatric optometrists. We all care for kids. And this mindset is so different between our two professions and can create a lot of confusion among our legislators because they're hearing one thing from ophthalmology that's different than what optometrists, how we practice. So it's so important for us to have how we see patients explain to our legislators and our colleagues in the medical community so that there's not this misunderstanding. And they know all of us see children and we all specialize in children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great point.
Mm-hmm. So I guess my takeaway, I'll go next. But yeah, I agree, Jen, to be the voice, because if you don't talk to all 3,000 patients a year about some of the amazing things optometry does, they will just not know. They don't know what they don't know. But I want us to think as ODs, right? Like if you are seeing 10 adult patients today or tomorrow, that's potentially 20 kids or 40 grandkids of those adult patients. And so we need to advocate in that way, just at the very least, to get children in for comprehensive eye exams. I think time can slip by, and sometimes these adult patients have like a 10-year-old that's never gotten an eye exam, and that's on us and our team to get those kids scheduled. And so whatever system you can get in place for that, I highly, highly encourage that. And just as one final reminder, right? 96% of kids get worse in their myopia as they grow. So we really need to basically make sure 96% of kids with myopia get treated, because right now, as it exists today, it's about 3 to 5%, and it's not looking too good. So we need to get that up all the way to 90-some% of kids that are growing, get the treatment that, again, they need, they deserve, and they can immediately benefit from, but also in the long term for their eye health too.
Yeah, Dr. Gaan, this is a great question for you as a practicing doctor. Then, at what prescription would you mention myopia management to your patient?
Oh, the minute they turn myopic. I mean, and I think that's like one of the biggest problems that I have is that I get all these patients coming in and they're -4 at like 10 or 12 years old, and it breaks my heart because I'm like, if only you came to me a little sooner, I would have taken care of you. But I wish that all the doctors surrounding me, or even the prior owner, like knew that they could actually do something so much sooner. So like we have one, a lot of even my associates were kind of like hesitating to start myopia management until they got to a certain level, like a -2. And, that's not the way to think. You have to start discussing it the minute they turn myopic. It's like, okay, you're a -50. Guess what's going to happen? You're 8 years old. So, you're going to be growing like my kids. I don't know, they grow like weeds, so an inch every year or something, so I feel like, you have to have that conversation early. And maybe, if the parent's a little hesitant, that's normal. They don't want to put their contacts in their kids' eyes, but, you kind of always want to relate to what their prescriptions are, right? So like I'll have I had this one surgeon come reach out to me. He is a -16 and his wife was a -4 and his child was a -2 at age 5. And everyone's like, oh, he's too young for contacts. 5 years old. No, you can absolutely do contacts that young. You just, usually you have the parents put them in and take them out or whatever until they're comfortable. But if you don't start right away, guess what? That kid is going to be that -16, right? And here that poor guy has so many issues and he doesn't want his child to be that way, but even like when you have someone like my best friend, her parents have perfect vision, but she's a -10, and I told her, I'm like, the minute your kids, start to have a prescription, we're going to treat them because she has two. I was like, I already know where your kids are going to end up. So, but you have to be ahead of the game, so we treat a lot of -1s, that's kind of probably the most comfortable point for parents is like, okay, my child is starting to really need correction, so I need to get going with it, because that's when they start to actually need them more full-time at school.
And I will speak from personal appearance, starting young, it's not like you're going to have parent pushback on that either. I fit my nephew the other day on my site. He's -1/4, -75. This was the first time he had shown any myopia on his exam. And that's immediately what we went to. Why am I going to wait for him to be a -6 like mom and dad? Now's the time. If we want to keep it low, we have to start now. So have those conversations, I agree, as soon as you see myopia. And that's going to end up with their lowest possible.
Another way to frame that up is that -50, they may have been +1 last year. So that's a 150 shift. That's alarming, right? A 150 myopic shift in 1 year. Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to harp on the annual exams because, oh, my kid can see, they don't need to come in. It's like, no, you need to come in. And, my kids, they come in every year. They're excited to come. They love coming. They don't get any shots. So, you have to kind of make it a fun thing for them. And it's like, your kids have coverage. There's no excuse for you not to come in. You go see your dentist twice a year. So why not see your optometrist every single year? And so they get it. You really educate them, but you have to be on it and you have to, say, oh, how old are your kids now? Oh, they should be coming in. You should at least get them checked to make sure everything's healthy.
Oh, this has been a great podcast discussion with so many things. And you can kind of see how when we all get together to talk at Myopia Collective events, we're going to learn so much from each other. This is just the beginning of our conversations. We're going to be talking so much about myopia this year and every year going forward. If you're a Defocus Media listener, you already know this is a big part of the kind of conversations that we have. Stay tuned for more information. And again, if you haven't signed up to be a member of the Myopia Collective yet, it is free. All your colleagues are doing it, and you're going to get access to discussions just like this. Go to myopiacollective.org to get signed up today. Thank you guys, everyone, so much for your time. And thank you to the AOA and to CooperVision for putting all of us together to make this mission possible. Yeah. Until next time.
Hey, family, if you enjoyed this full podcast, don't miss out on more engaging content. Check out the next episode right here. And for the latest updates, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Your support means the world to us. Catch us in the next episode. Peace.